For the last 3 years, I've watched B2B, info companies, agencies, etc. all burn so much money on paid ads using just stupidly bad strategies that might have worked in 2017. They end up paying 2, 3, 5 times more to acquire a customer, and they act like they're kind of VC-backed software businesses that just have millions to burn, but in reality, that just leaves them kind of financially screwed. And I'll let you in on a little secret here. Most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, it's not because there's a specific problem or there's like a Jedi level creative or complicated targeting strategy they need to use. A lot of times it's just a basic that there's never get taught. Like they just miss this stuff because it's not really out there unless you want to pay $15K for someone's course. And the sad part is that a lot of these guys that made their money selling like $15,000 to $20,000 info products, most of the time their stuff worked really, really well across 2021, 2022, back when everything was a little bit easier. But right now, when it comes to acquiring clients via paid ads, the strategies you need to use, aka the only strategies that work, are the ones that are a little bit more advanced, but still use some of those fundamental principles in terms of planning, creative, all that stuff. So today, what I wanted to do was just kind of rule out 4 of the biggest mistakes you can make with paid ads, just so before you do anything, or even if you are already spending money on paid ads, you kind of have a gauge of where you need to go and what you need to focus on. And for a bit of context, the reason I'm making this video is because I had a call with a friend of mine who was in probably your position where he'd already been spending money on paid ads. He spent about 30 grand on paid ads and returned $2,500 or something. So what ended up happening was he was listening to all this advice that might have worked a few years ago, and at the end of the day, he was just left literally lighting money on fire. Like there was just almost no revenue to show for his ad spend. But in the 60 days after he was following this advice, he went from burning $29,000 on ads to reducing his ad spend. He spent $5,000 less on ads and ended up returning over $68,000. So he went from burning 29 grand to being positive by, I can't remember, it was like 30 grand plus. Not to mention that his revenue is recurring as well. So he went from minus 1,000x ROAS to 3, 4, 5x ROAS over time. And again, that's literally just by following some of the tips I've shared in this video. So if you're new to the channel, this is pretty much all we do. Just for a bit of context, I've worked with over 400 clients on specifically this. What we do is we run paid ads, we make funnels, we do all that good stuff, but I like to think we use the strategies that actually work. So if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I know it's been a little while, but we are back. We are fully in business. I've been away for a little while, just focusing on current clients, but you can expect a lot more videos moving forward. As always, if you want more help, you can check out the links in the description for our paid offers and maybe even some free offers if you're absolutely lucky. Without further ado, let's dive in. So first things first, before you do anything, you need to get set up with a financial model of what you're planning to do and what your KPIs are going to be in order to get in line. Without that, you're pretty much just shooting in the dark. And the reason for that is because it doesn't matter how much you can spend to acquire a customer. If you're not aware of the parameters that you're playing within, you're gonna be either profitable and you don't know it, or you're gonna be unprofitable and you don't know it. Either way, it's like you're looking around for your phone in the dark in the middle of the night, and the light switch is right there and you're just choosing not to turn it on and operating with no idea what's even going on. So just as an example, let's say your LTV, your lifetime value of a client, is $10,000. And you go into a campaign thinking, oh, well, my friend has an average cost per call of $200. That means I need a $200 cost per call. But you say that without thinking what their LTV is. You say that without knowing what their cost per qualified call is as well, not just any call. And you also go into that without knowing what their total CAC is. So there's all these variables that if you're just going off what your friend says or what someone in a different industry says, or even what a guru says who got results 5 years ago but not anymore, you are going to mess it up, I guarantee you. In reality, all you need to do is just run the numbers for your own offer and get a set of KPIs of what you can tolerate in terms of your funnel. And that's not just going and looking at what is my dream scenario. That's looking at, okay, the absolute worst cost per call or the absolute worst cost to acquire a customer I can tolerate is X. So as long as we're within that range, we're gonna be profitable, we can keep spending, and we can just basically keep going. So again, let's say your LTV is about 10K. If you spend $250 to acquire a qualified call, and then 25% of those calls close, that's a $1,000 basically CAC, cost to acquire a customer. Now your friend might be able to book qualified calls for $100, and you might say, oh, well, my ad campaign is terrible because I'm spending $250 to acquire a booked call. But the reason that's stupid is because the only question you need to be asking is this a profitable campaign? In this situation, yes, that is a profitable campaign given that your margin is still within intact. So I'll give you a pop quiz. If all the stats in your ad account look absolutely terrible, but you are still booking calls and you're still a positive ROAS, what do? Do you turn off the campaign? Do you keep it running? Do you scale it? What's the plan? Or do you just freak out because your ad account doesn't look like your friend's ad account? Most likely what you're gonna do is you're gonna either scale the campaign because it's extremely profitable, or you're just gonna leave it as is if it's just teetering on around the level that you want it to be. Most times, if something's at a good ROAS, all you need to do is just bump the spend up, start scaling it, and then also test some more stuff to basically figure out what is the next action you need to take to improve that campaign. And we'll get into that a bit in a second. Either way, the point still stands. Number one, figure out what profitable looks like. Number two, launch with your best attempt. And then number three, if you're within KPI, all you're doing is taking the next highest leverage action. And if you're not in KPI, you're still taking the next highest leverage action, but you're just gonna put all the budget towards the new test. So that pretty much covers that. And then we're into the next biggest mistake, which is an absolute doozy. And it's kind of a two-parter. So the first part is you might not have enough expertise to create messaging that resonates in terms of your ad creative, or you might just be too lazy to test enough creative to eventually find something that's gonna crank. And when I say messaging, I mean the ad copy, the creative, the funnel, the VSL, and just the entire idea behind the campaign and the individual ads that you test. And the reason this matters is because I'll give you an example. For our clients that make between 200 and 400K a month, a lot of times, 80% of the revenue that built them up to that level came from between 2 and 5 winning ads. So if you're around like 50 to 100K a month and you wanna really push past, you might be only 2 to 5 winning ads away from bumping up to that next level. And the thing is, that means for literally almost all the tests they did in terms of ad creative, it was a complete waste of time compared to just those 2 to 5 really banger ads that kind of carry them through to the next level. And that's not something that's gonna be disheartening because most of your ads are gonna suck. What that means is you need to kind of fiddle around and test more until you can find those absolute bangers. And it also means if you aren't paying enough attention to learning the skill and spending the resources to make really good ads, then you are absolutely kidding yourself, because this is one of the highest leverage things you can do for your funnel. And that's especially if you're one of these people that says they don't have time to test new ads. Like I see it all the time. Like you might be an ad agency and your ad funnel is fucking teetering in the wind and it's going terribly, but for whatever reason, you just don't use the same skills you use for your clients on your own ad funnel. That's one of the stupidest things I see, and it costs you a ton of money because all it takes is that little bit of extra effort to test more creative, and then you basically break through. That was the case for this guy I'm talking about in the video. When he was losing so much money on ads, a lot of his problem was just not leveraging the skills he already had on his own funnel because of whatever reason. It's just so much harder to do it for yourself than it is to do it for other people. But I cannot stress enough, the messaging in the ads and the funnel is ridiculously important, particularly because it's not only gonna determine how much you have to pay to get someone on the phone, it's also gonna determine the type of person that you get on the phone as well. So recently we had a client of ours bring in a couple of 8-figure brands and a 9-figure brand, all from one new ad test. So we had all of his ads had not done anything like this before. He was bringing in, the occasional 8-figure brand, the occasional, bigger brand, mostly 7-figure brands. But then we launched one new creative that brought in, boom, 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 3 whales within the space of like 72 hours. And from that creative, it cost us about $150 each to get those people on the phone. So here's the thing, the only difference between what we were doing was the ad creative. So we'd tested all this stuff that was bringing in a lot of 7-figure brands, and then one breakthrough in terms of just one ad started bringing in those way bigger brands. So if you think about the leverage there, it's not just, oh, well, I'm gonna test something that's gonna bring in, a magical amount of revenue. It's like, no, if you say certain words, you are going to get your actual dream prospects on the phone. And if you say the wrong words, you're gonna be stuck in this like purgatory of just getting shit clients all the time. And it's gonna make you wanna pull your hair out. You're not gonna wanna run your business anymore. And it's just gonna be a shit time. And even if you think about the difference in LTV of an 8 or a 9-figure prospect compared to a 6 to a 7-figure prospect, it's also ridiculous. So the ROAS is bigger. It's not just that they're dream clients. They're gonna pay more, they're gonna stay for longer, they're gonna be a better case study, so you're gonna be able to break into those larger companies. And it just makes a massive difference in general. So the mistake here isn't even anything to do with any technicalities. It's just that you're not spending anywhere near enough time and resources on the actual creatives themselves. But the caveat there is that even if your ads are absolutely crushing, if you don't have the next step solved, which is the actual funnel, you're gonna be pissing money up the wall anyway, so make sure you pay attention to this next one. Let's say as an example, you have a cost per click of about $5 to $15, which is pretty typical if you run a B2B campaign where you're targeting a business. Particularly if you're targeting the high end of the market, like if you're looking for a 7, 8, or a 9-figure prospect or a client, you're not gonna be paying $2 for a click, especially for a book a call funnel. You're gonna be paying $5 to $15. What that means is to get 100 clicks on your lander, you're gonna be spending $1,500. And if you're only booking 1% of those landing page visitors into calls, your cost per call is gonna be $1,500, which is kind of inflated depending on what your LTV is. However, if you can get that landing page to convert at 3% instead of 1%, obviously that's a pretty big jump, but it's not outlandish. All of a sudden your cost per call goes from $1,500 to $500. And then if you really dial it in and you get it converted converting at 5%, which is pretty typical, then all of a sudden your cost per call is $300. So it sounds kind of, conceptual, but at the end of the day, you can have the same ad creative, the same everything, but if the funnel converts better, basically your cost per call is gonna be a fraction of what it would be otherwise. The point I'm trying to make here is that the steps that really matter in the funnel are the ad creative and the messaging, and then the funnel itself, like the actual conversion rate. So when you're looking at the actions that you're taking, the resources you're spending, and just your general focus, it's going to be, how can I get more of the people that click onto this page, more of the clicks that I'm spending money for, to end up scheduling? And again, it's great because you don't need to spend more money on ads on this. You can just make a couple of tweaks and then all of a sudden your cost per call can be slashed. Here are 3 quick tips. Number 1, if your funnel's not optimized for mobile, you're pissing money up the wall. Most of the traffic you're gonna get, like 80% plus, is going to be people on their mobile. So if your mobile version of your funnel looks like absolute shit, it's not just that you're leaving money on the table, it's like your direct laziness and lack of just thinking to actually do an action that's gonna make you so much money is directly costing you percentages per call. Like this could be costing you $200 per call or $300 per call, which is gonna have a dramatic impact on your profitability. Like this is just a lack of kind of consciousness and presence that is leading to lighting money on fire. So I strongly recommend, if you don't have that done, it's not gonna take that long. It's gonna take 10, 15 minutes. Go and mobile optimize your funnel. Number 2, you might have a form in the funnel that just has too much friction or the wrong type of friction. And what I mean by that is, you might put a form on the front page of your landing page and it might ask them like 7 questions or something. That's just gonna kill your conversion rate and it's never going to work. Like I cannot stress you enough. You're either going to an opt-in page that has only name, email, and phone number, or you're going direct to a VSL. Those two can be very profitable. But if you're going to an opt-in page that has like 7 questions, you're pissing money up the wall. Absolutely kills conversions. And you might be someone listening to this thinking, who's gonna be dumb enough to do that? But trust me, I say that all the time. Someone going to an opt-in page that has like 7 questions, you're asking their revenue before they've even opted in for anything. It just doesn't work. Now, if you're going deep in the funnel and you're doing an application funnel and then you're asking a little bit more intimate questions after they've watched a VSL in order to get on a phone call, that's very different. And even then you wanna make sure you're asking the right questions as to not cause a huge drop-off rate. But really the point here is just don't add unnecessary friction, because the more questions you have, basically the higher you're gonna be paying for a conversion. And then the third biggest mistake is having a VSL that doesn't suit or resonate with your ideal customers. And what I mean by resonate or suit is that we have clients that run 30-minute long VSLs. We have clients that run 2-minute long VSLs. We have clients that run highly edited VSLs, and also clients that run completely raw and unedited ones. The only thing that matters is this going to work for my specific prospect? Because it's one of the great shames of our industry that there might be a person online that's really, really good at selling info products. They're really, really good at selling coaching programs and stuff. And then they might go to someone who runs an agency, or they might go to someone who runs a SaaS and basically say, yeah, this is how you get clients. But what we're talking about here is someone who's good at selling info and someone who's good at selling B2B high ticket deals. It's a very different thing. But a lot of times the kind of lines get blurry and you start using the same principles that work over here and trying to use them over here. Now, sometimes that's a great thing because you can use a strategy that worked in another industry, in your industry, and it can work great. But a lot of times with VSLs specifically, you want to focus in on stuff that's going to work for you. And if you don't know what that is, you need to test. But again, most people are just too lazy to test, or they don't have the skill to be able to consistently produce good ad copy. But I guess the point of what I'm saying here is that we've seen clients 5x their cost per call, or drop their cost per call by 5x, literally just by testing a VSL. So rather than looking at it as something where you just set and forget some BS VSL that you got from a guru, you need to spend the time, energy, and resources on that VSL because it's going to have a massive impact. Once again, in the instance of the guy that inspired me to make this video, just by making a few of these key changes, we dropped the overall costs in the funnel by about 75%. So sometimes it's literally as simple as just getting these best practices installed once, and then being able to drop those costs, and then you're kind of off to the races after that. So once again, if you're looking to get your paid ads done by me and my team, feel free to click the links in the description and check out how we work. There's done for you stuff available. There's some consulting stuff available. Basically, if this is your problem and you need to get more clients and more leads, then we can help you out. We'll find something for you. But we're not quite done yet, because even once you've got your ads converting, once you've got your funnel converting, a lot of times, even if your ads are attracting the right people, you can struggle to convert the completely cold customer. And even once you've scaled up quite a bit, like we have clients that do, 500K a month, and they might still have issues where they're bringing people in, their sales team is good, but it's still just difficult to convince a stranger to give you money. And that's just a fact of life, and it's not going to change too much. Eventually, as you start scaling, you're kind of pushing further and further into a colder audience who knows less about who you are and they know less about the offer. And your sales reps eventually just start complaining. They say, oh, these leads are so cold, these leads are so unaware, whatever it is. And there's instances where people will literally have a close rate of like 5%. So at that point, it doesn't matter how good the ads are, it doesn't matter how good the funnel is, you're going to need to take some actions to basically help the sales reps close from a marketing perspective. Because sometimes you need to, train the sales reps more, sometimes you need to just get new ones, but at the same time, there are actions you can take. There is an in-depth breakdown of this on my channel that you can check out, how to create sales assets. So I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. But the short version is you're gonna want YouTube videos, short form content, emails, PDF breakdowns, and personalized looms and selfie videos. And if you do all those things to a high level and basically shove them towards the leads that are within your sales process, your close rate is going to skyrocket. So as a direct action item from watching this video, you wanna take those content formats and you basically want to just set up, number one, retargeting ads for people within the sales process. So when someone becomes a schedule, you want to retarget them with content. Number two, you want to create a 30-day email flow, which basically emails anyone who signs up through one of your funnels one time per day for an entire month, and you're emailing them your best assets. So your best case studies, your best looms, your best YouTube videos, your best PDFs, whatever. Number three, within the hour of them downloading anything from you or booking a call, you want to email them 4 times. And within those 4 emails, you're gonna explain who you are, who you help, the problems that you solve, and how you solve them across 4 different emails. Number 4, you also wanna manually text the leads and start engaging in a conversation with them before the sales call. What you'll end up finding out is that some of them will have an objection that they'll reveal to you via text, and then you can just text them a specific YouTube video that's gonna help them learn about that specific thing. So for example, they might be texting you before the call saying, hey, I don't know if I can do this because I don't know if I have a budget for ads. And then you can just send them a video of yours that explains how much budget they need for ads. It's really, really simple. Then number 5, you can also record a selfie video, basically explaining that you are excited to talk to them on the call and to let you know if you have any questions before the call. And on top of that, you can also encourage them to consume some of the sales assets you have available and offer them more if you want. So again, that's just kind of engaging in the conversation via text in a really personable way and just letting them know that you're not just a Calendly reminder, this is an actual person on the other side of the phone. Again, that's gonna do wonders for show rate, close rate, all that stuff. And then finally, number 6 is to have a wins page, a resources page, and a case study interview page on your site to where all the stuff you have is just hosted on a link where your sales reps or yourself can just fire it off and basically have that as easily accessible to everyone on your team, where it's basically all hosted, all in one spot. Again, the reason for that is just because it's easy, just so you can have that social proof there. And so people don't really have any excuse to not see exactly who you are, what you can do, how you can help them, and who you've helped in the past. So once you have that all hosted, that's gonna help out your sales reps an absolute ton. So if you can solve these 4 mistakes, again, it's gonna be the financial model, it's gonna be the ad creative and the messaging, it's gonna be the funnel, and then it's gonna be the conversion off the back end. If you can solve those 4 things, you're gonna be ahead of 99% of advertisers, and it's not even gonna be close. So basically, you're welcome for the video. Hopefully it was really, really helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Once again, you can expect a few more videos coming from me in the near future, so I'll see you there. Ciao. And just before you go, if you want to see exactly how this was applied to a specific business, I recorded a case study of how we took one of our clients from 100K a month to 200K a month across the span of about 4 months. So that's the video you can watch next. You can go ahead and check that one out, and I'll see you there.